Hi everybody, welcome back to the Jumpin Club, and tonight we have, all the way from Austin, Texas, Jesse Dayton.
Hey man, how are you, brother? It's good to be back in Geordie country.
Thank you. It has been about a decade since we saw you, Jesse.
It's been a while, yeah. Last time I played here was Tab Falco's Panther Burns, and that was just a crazy, bizarre Newcastle night.
Yeah, I remember it because Tab Falco showed us his yellow trousers with the little bit of tissue there that he wore when he used to play with Elvis Presley, but I don't think he actually did. But it was that bizarre a night, wasn't it?
I don't know that he played with Elvis, but he might have, you know, touched his hand as he drove by in the Continental.
And since we saw you, I mean, you've done films, you've produced, you've been a scriptwriter. Jesse, tell us about some of the stuff you've done recently. I mean, it's been like...
well, you know, I mean, when I was younger, I started out doing all this other stuff, music and stuff like that, and then I got dragged kind of into this. I don't say dragged because it sounds kind of, I mean, like I didn't want to do it. I did want to do it, but a good buddy of mine that I grew up with on the Gulf Coast, down in Beaumont, Texas, Lou Temple, he has become a very famous actor in America. He's a character actor.
Right.
And but he's like one of the top, you know, working guys. And so he did this film with Rob Zombie, and he gave Rob Zombie my record, and Rob Zombie he liked it, and he said, "Hey man, I'm making this like ultimate white trash horror movie kind of thing, and I think your music would be perfect."
Brilliant.
So anyway, that kind of got me in, and then that record did really well, sold well, and I ended up, you know, writing all the songs on it. So the publishing, the mailbox money was really good, and you know, bought a house and put some money away for the kid, and then I ended up doing 3 more films, and then the last one I did, I directed, and it stars Malcolm McDowell.
Wow, that's a big man, man. Yeah,
it was a big one. It was, I wrote and directed as my first time, and I showed up on set at 6 a.m. Before everyone else, and of course Malcolm had been there since 5:30. And he sent for me, and so I go over there, and the girl goes, "Are you nervous? It's your first day to direct a film, and you're doing your first scene with Malcolm McDowell." And I said, "Well, I've worked with Johnny Cash. He can't be that much of an asshole." You know what I mean? Johnny was the biggest star ever, sweetest guy ever. And so we come in, and I said, "Hi, Malcolm." And he said, "Hey." He goes, "All right, sweetheart, let's get all the Kubrick questions out of the way." Because he knew that I was a film geek and, you know, nerd and like way into that. So it was great. And so that kind of, that film stuff kind of helped put me on a little bit easier setting to come play in Newcastle.
Yeah, of course it is.
You know, so now I'm not freaking out about, oh my God, am I going to be able to pay my band?
Well, to be honest, you've played with, like, I mean, all the best country guys, you know, I mean, you know, you've done all your bloody trade over the years, man, Jesse. It's but still it's hard. That's what you're trying to say. It's still hard to keep your band together, isn't it? You know.
Well, it's, you know, it's the music business, man. It's a tough racket. But now it's not as hard. You know, when I first came out with my country thing, nobody in rockabilly was doing that. They were like, country music? I was like, yeah. The people who played rockabilly, that's hillbilly, rockabilly. Like, they were all into country music. So I came out with a pedal steel guitar in like '93. And people were looking at me like, oh, well, he's just sold out and he's going to go to Nashville and, you know. But they didn't, Nashville would have never had anyone like me.
No, definitely not.
Never in a million years, you know. And I never thought about that kind of thing. I just wanted to make a living and be honest about my music, you know.
And to be honest with you, Jesse, I interviewed a guy called Slade Cleaves a couple of weeks ago.
Love him, man.
And
Great guy.
Slade said that he was very influenced by the likes of the Clash.
Yes,
you know, because,
me too.
because of it's the garage thing, it's the do-it-yourself thing.
Yes.
You've got your own channel, and you just do it.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that's
mean,
what you've done as well. Isn't
totally. English music has been a huge influence on me. When I was 15 years old, I'm from a little redneck town, like where they didn't have anything cool. Like punk rock never hit my hometown, and so we had to go to Houston or Austin or Dallas or whatever.
Yeah.
But
from Beaumont, isn't it?
Yeah, Beaumont. Yeah. And there's a lot of great, George
West
Jones.
Yeah. George Jones, yeah.
He's from there. They had Starday Records there.
Yeah.
They recorded Lefty Frizzell and Joe LeBlanc. I mean, it's got a ton of musical history. But this friend of mine who was the only cool guy in my town who turned me on to punk rock, he gave me White Riot by The Clash, and I was jumping on the bed with a tennis racket.
That's
you know what I mean?
single.
Oh yeah. And he said, "Hey, The Clash is playing. Do you want to go see them?" So we took a road trip. I was like 15. So
You went to see the Clash?
I saw The Clash, yes, in 1982.
Did you?
Yeah,
Wow.
at San Antonio at the what's the theater? I can't remember. It's like Imperial Theater or something like that.
Yeah.
And anyway, Joe Ely was playing with them.
Yeah, because he used to tour with them.
And so the next day I went and got my hair cut and greased out, ducked head.
That's great, man.
I was
That's
a
great.
little kid with a nondescript kind of baby mullet, you know what I mean? And
Well, we've had Mick Jones play here. He used the guitarist out of the Clash. What a lovely guy.
yeah.
Anyway, let's move on to rock and roll, Jesse.
Yeah.
So this week we've had the sad news of Fats Domino dying.
Yes.
Did you like Fats? Was it?
Loved Fats Domino. So where I grew up was on the Texas-Louisiana border. So New Orleans was every bit as close from my house as Austin was. So my parents used to bring me to New Orleans. My dad would bring me and my brother, and this was like in the 70s when you had to dress up to get on the plane. And he would put little seersucker suits on me and my brother. And then we would sit in his lap. He's a big hulking guy, We'd sit in his lap on each knee, and he'd have a Bloody Mary in one hand and a Cuban cigar in the other. And yes, and all the stewardesses looked like playmates back then. They were beautiful. And so we would get off and we would go, and we'd be like, "Walking to New Orleans."
Wow.
And we'd be listening to all that stuff. And I went and saw Fats Domino many times.
Did you?
Yep.
I saw him playing once as well.
Yep, I saw him. I actually played at Jazz Fest one year and he was playing.
Did you? Did he have a review with like 25 stacks and all that?
Bunch of people on stage.
Yeah.
And, but those initial records were so important, that New Orleans sound.
Imperial's records.
Yeah, I mean, and we still do Ain't That a Shame, and we'll do Blue Monday every once in a while or whatever.
So what was your first gig you went to? Was that your dad went to school with George Jones?
Yeah.
Is that right?
It's crazy, huh?
And you went to see
so did
George Jones when you were about 7 or so?
So did my old drummer. Yeah. I went and saw George Jones, and it was so funny because everyone called him the Possum, and I was like this little kid, and I was like, wow, the possum's coming out, like
The possum.
And he came out and he looked like kind of like a possum, he had the like nose and anyway, it was he was I tell the story on stage, but the first time we went, he didn't show up.
Jones no show.
Yeah, and supposedly he was on his bus and just was kind of drunk. And then the second time, everyone came back the next weekend, and he passed out on stage like before he sang his first song. And I looked at my father and I said, "What's wrong with him, Daddy?" And he goes, "Son, that's country music." And but after that I was very suspicious of all the guys on MTV from LA who look like chicks. I was like, they're not partying as hard as George Jones. Like they're up there with They're up there with a Jack Daniels bottle, probably full of Sun tea, iced tea.
Yeah.
So,
the first gig I went to see was Shorty Woody. Have you ever heard of them?
no.
A rock and roll band from the 70s in the UK. You don't want to either.
I know Brian Johnson's from up here, isn't he? The guy from AC/DC?
Yeah, he's a singer.
Yeah, and they had a band, Geordie something.
Geordie they were called.
They were called Geordie?
Yeah.
And that was like a kind of cool 70s hard rock band.
Yeah. Well, I like with a little touch of pop in him. Like,
Yeah, it was good. I liked it.
Yeah, well, he comes from Gateshead, which is just over the river.
Okay.
And, yeah, we've got like lots of.
He's done pretty well for himself.
He's done all right. Yeah.
Hey, just a reminder, if you guys don't like AC/DC, Brian Johnson is shopping right now, and he doesn't care. Okay. So.
We saw. I saw Eric Burden. We were talking about New Orleans in a shop in New Orleans buying some like bread and cheese and stuff.
Yeah.
So that's a heritage of Newcastle.
I'm sure he's a sweetheart. I'm sure he's a good cat.
Jesse, thanks very much.
Of course, man. Thank you.
We've got a lot of your friends here, and you know, it's great to see you again.
Yeah. Thanks for having us back. Thank you, guys.